Hello everyone. Today's topic is the doctrine of territorial nexus. So whenever we'll talk about the doctrine of territorial nexus, the provision of our constitution which talk about this doctrine is Article 245. Okay. So the doctrine of territorial nexus, it means that a state legislature can make a law even on a matter outside its territory if there is a sufficient connection between the state and the subject matter. So if we'll go read the actual provision of our constitution, that is 245. So the clause 1, it talks about that the parliament may make laws for the whole or any part of the India, and the legislature of the state may make law for the whole or any part of the state, where the clause 2 talks about a no law made by the parliament shall be deemed invalid merely because it has extra-territorial operation. So this clause 2, here comes the doctrine of territorial nexus. So the constitution gives parliament power to make law for the whole or any part of India. The state legislature has a power to make law for their respective state. Means कि पार्लियामेंट के पास तो पावर है कि वो जो है वो लॉ बनाएगा फॉर होल पार्ट ऑफ द इंडिया. अगर हमें पूरे इंडिया के पर्सपेक्टिव से देखना है, सो द आवर पार्लियामेंट हैज़ अ पावर टू मेक लॉ. बट हम अगर रिस्पेक्टिव स्टेट की बात करते हैं तो इन दैट केस द स्टेट लेजिस्लेचर हैज़ द पावर. तो जब भी कभी किसी स्टेट में कोई लॉ बनता है तो वो हमारे स्टेट लेजिस्लेचर बनाता है. सो नॉर्मली अ स्टेट लॉ ऑपरेट्स विद इन द टेरिटोरियल बाउंड्रीज ऑफ द स्टेट. अगर किसी स्टेट ने कोई लॉ बनाया है तो वो लॉ उसी स्टेट के बाउंड्रीज में ऑपरेट होगा, काम करेगा. ठीक है. बट अगर कोई मैटर है जो रियल है, सब्सटेंशियल कनेक्शन है उसका स्टेट के साथ, देन द लॉ में हैव एक्स्ट्रा टेरिटोरियल ऑपरेशन. दैट इज आवर आर्टिकल 245 clause 2. सिंपल वर्ड्स में समझते हैं. इमेजिन करो एक बिजनेस ओनर है, ओके, एंड दैट ओनर इज लिविंग इन दिल्ली, पर उसकी जो अर्निंग इनकम है उसकी फैक्ट्री से वो उत्तराखंड में है. अब क्योंकि जो बिजनेस एक्टिविटी है और जो इनकम है वो उत्तराखंड से हो रही है, सो द स्टेट हैज़ अ टेरिटोरियल कनेक्शन विद दैट इनकम एंड द स्टेट ऑफ उत्तराखंड में इम्पोज टैक्स अकॉर्डिंग टू द लॉ. चाहे आप दिल्ली के रहने वाले हो या आप यूपी के रहने वाले हो, ठीक है, लेकिन अगर आपका कोई बिजनेस किसी डिफरेंट स्टेट में है तो जहाँ पे वो बिजनेस एक्टिविटी हो रही है, जहाँ से आपका रेवेन्यू जनरेट हो रहा है, उस स्टेट के पास वो टेरिटोरियल कनेक्शन है कि वो लॉ इन टैक्स लगा सकती है, वो इम्पोज कर सकती है. ठीक है. Now if we'll talk about what is the essential condition. So for the first, it must be real connection between the state and the subject matter. The connection should not be accidental, illusory, or remote. The law should be reasonably connected with the object sought to be achieved. If these conditions are satisfied, then the state law will not be invalid merely because it affects person or property outside the state. Okay. Can a state make a law about something outside its territory? And what happens when a law touches two different subjects? So let's understand this doctrine with some simple example again. So, okay, earlier we take an example of a factory. So suppose take let's start with hotel or factory, whatever. Draw a simple map showing a person in one state and a business activity in another state. Now you emphasize the phrase that is real and substantial connection. Again, simple map shows a person in one state. The person in one state means, suppose a person in Delhi again, and the business activity in another state means activity in Uttarakhand or Gurgaon or whatever state you can imagine. Now you can emphasize the condition that the real connection between the state and the subject matter. So obviously there is a connection. There is a real connection between the state and the subject matter. Okay, because you are generating the revenue from that state. You are conducting your business there. Company, for example, a company again, the company has its head office in Delhi, but it operates a large hotel in Uttarakhand. So the hotel earn profit from customer who are staying in Uttarakhand. So Uttarakhand government can impose the tax on the income generated from the hotel, because the income has a direct territorial nexus with the state. So now you can understand the condition, that the real connection between the state and the subject matter. So this is the key ingredient. Okay, it now there's some leading cases. First, that State of Bombay uh, versus Chamarbogwala. So in this case, the Supreme Court held that the State of Bombay could tax price competition activity, because there is a sufficient connection, territorial connection between the activity and the state. So now, most important thing that we should remember is, if you are preparing for UGC NET, please remember this chronology. It's very important because they mostly ask the chronology year wise. So, if we, the first case, the landmark case of this doctrine is this Wallace Prose, where this doctrine originated. Okay, that is year 1948. So please remember this sequence. It's very important as per your NET exam, if you are preparing for NET or any competitive exam. So now, this case, Wallace Prose and Company Limited versus Commissioner of Income Tax, ये 1948 का केस है. क्यों इम्पोर्टेंट है? बिकॉज this case is considered as an origin of this doctrine of territorial nexus. Fact क्या है? This Wallace Prose was a foreign company, ठीक है, एंड ये इनकम जो है वो अर्न करते थे फ्रॉम द ब्रिटिश इंडिया. सो द कंपनी, दे आर्ग्यूड दैट सिंस it was incorporated outside India, so India could not tax it. अब issue क्या था? Can British India tax income earned within its territory by a foreign company? So what it was held by the Privy Council, that if income has a real territorial connection, then the taxation is valid. So the territorial connection is sufficient to justify the taxation. Again, there is another case of that is State of Bombay versus RMD, Chamar Bogwala. So this is the most frequently asked question in your UGC net. The company, the fact of the case is the company conducted price competition from Bangalore. Participant purchase coupon in Bombay. Now the Bombay imposed tax. So the company argued that the Bombay government has had no jurisdiction. अब सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने क्या बोला कि बॉम्बे गवर्नमेंट जो है वो टैक्स लगा सकती है। क्यों? क्योंकि जो टिकट्स थे वो बॉम्बे में बिके, जो पार्टिसिपेंट्स थे वो बॉम्बे के रहते, जो रेवेन्यू थे वो जनरेट हुए बॉम्बे से। सो देयर इज अ रियल एंड सफिशिएंट टेरिटोरियल नेक्सस. So two test was let down, two condition was there. Nexus, that must be real. Nexus must not be accidental, must not be illusionary. Again, please remember the chronology. It's very, very, very important. These are some MCQ question for your practice. Please comment down your answer in the comment box. So we can say that 245(2) grants Parliament the power to make law with extra-territorial operation. However, no such provision exists for the state legislature. So now the question arises, can a state legislature can make law affecting person, property or transaction outside its territorial limits? Then the answer is obviously yes. But only, again, there must be sufficient territorial connection. So this doctrine is the doctrine of the territorial nexus. The word territorial, it means it relating to the territory or any geographical boundaries. Why was this doctrine developed? Imagine a world without this doctrine. Suppose a company is registered in Delhi, has its head office in Mumbai, owns factories in Uttarakhand, earn income in Uttarakhand, and they sell their products throughout India. Now, if Uttarakhand could legislate only against company physically incorporated within the state, many activities carried on within its territory could escape regulation or taxation. The doctrine was therefore developed to ensure that the state can effectively regulate activities that have a genuine connection with them, even if some part of the activities occurs outside their territorial limits. जस्ट बिकॉज आप कहीं और रह रहे हो और आप कहीं और अपना बिजनेस कर रहे हो तो आप ये ग्राउंड लेके नहीं बच सकते कि जी मैं तो यहाँ रहता ही नहीं हूँ तो आप मुझ पे टैक्स नहीं लगा सकते। ऑब्वियसली गवर्नमेंट आप पे टैक्स लगा सकती है अगर आप उस स्टेट में अपना बिजनेस कैरी ऑन कर रहे हो, वहाँ से अपनी रेवेन्यू जनरेट कर रहे हो तो कर सकते हैं। एंड दैट्स वाई दिस डॉक्ट्राइन इज देयर. Please remember the three conditions because that is also very important. Okay, one more thing. I guess it is missing in the notes. I'll add another PDF in the chat box. RSI. How to remember the three condition? So the trick is RSI. R for real connection, S substantial connection, I not illusionary. So if you remember this RSI, you will remember the three essential requirement of this doctrine.